Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down the core concepts from the highly acclaimed series, The Crude Command. We're basically pulling back the curtain to reveal the mechanics of exactly how, and more importantly why, oil prices exercise absolute authority over the world economy. So if you've ever found yourself wondering why a slight fluctuation in a barrel of liquid halfway across the globe can literally dictate the price of your groceries, well, you're definitely in the right place.
So why does one commodity rule everything? I mean, we live in a world with thousands of tradable resources, right? From gold to lithium, but it's absolutely vital to understand how this single black liquid acts as the invisible bloodstream of the entire world economy. After all, petroleum isn't just sitting in your gas tank. It's in everyday items you'd probably never expect, from toothpaste to your favorite pair of yoga pants. It really isn't just another item on a spreadsheet. It's the fundamental underlying asset that powers the movement and creation of almost everything else we use. To map this all out, we're going to follow a four-part ripple effect. 1. The crude command. 2. Oil's ripple effect. 3. Supply chains and inflation. And 4. The global economic engine.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the crude command. The source material makes this incredible point. Oil is not just a fuel. It is the ultimate economic lever. Just think about that word command for a second. It doesn't mean influence or, nudge. It means dictate. When the price of oil shifts, the world economy honestly doesn't have a choice but to respond. Whether a nation is producing cutting-edge technology, growing agriculture, or providing services, the underlying cost of moving those goods or powering those facilities is firmly tethered to the price of this specific commodity. It's the baseline metric upon which global commerce literally calculates its survival.
Moving right along to part 2, oil's ripple effect. It all starts right here with just one single 42-gallon barrel of crude oil. Imagine a stone being dropped into a perfectly still pond. That one barrel and the price tag attached to it represents the stone hitting the water. Every single economic action that follows is just a ripple moving outward from this exact localized point. And from that one barrel, the domino effect is just immediate. The very first ripple hits the gas stations, which is obviously the most visible indicator for us everyday consumers, but it doesn't stop there. The second ripple slams into transportation and logistics. Suddenly, the entire fleet of trucks moving products across the country costs significantly more to operate. That higher cost then ripples into manufacturing, where the raw materials needed to build products are now way more expensive to acquire and process. And finally, the wave crashes right onto the shores of consumer goods, the actual items you and I take off the shelf. So the really crucial takeaway here is this rapid, three-step linear progression that shows exactly how a price hike at the barrel level reaches your wallet. Step 1, crude price shifts. The raw material changes value. Step 2, refining costs change. Turning that raw, unrefined sludge into usable diesel, gasoline, and aviation fuel instantly becomes more expensive, which puts a massive squeeze on the refineries. And step 3, consumer prices react. The businesses paying those higher fuel costs, well, they can't simply absorb the losses, right? They pass those costs directly onto you and me. It's a highly efficient and completely unavoidable transmission of cost. Which brings us to part 3, supply chains and inflation. There is a pretty stark dichotomy in how crude dictates supply chains. Low oil prices basically act like grease in the gears of global trade. Transport becomes cheaper, margins for businesses widen out, and the prices of goods on the shelf stay stabilized. The economy can just breathe. But high oil prices, they introduce massive friction into the system. Suddenly, shipping a container across the ocean or flying cargo internationally becomes exponentially more expensive. These inflated logistical costs act like a heavy tax on the entire supply chain, which inevitably inflates consumer costs across the board. Now, we really have to define inflation here strictly through the physical, mechanical driver of oil. We so often hear inflation discussed in terms of monetary policy or consumer demand. But what this explainer emphasizes is the physical reality driving that inflation. When the foundational energy required to produce and move literally everything becomes more expensive, the general price level of everything has to rise to compensate. In this context, inflation is essentially the economy running a fever, and an oil price shock is the underlying infection. And finally, part 4, the global economic engine. It's actually staggering to think about the sheer dominating proportion of our global economy that relies entirely on oil. I mean, even as amazing new technologies emerge and alternative energy sectors grow, the vast, overwhelming majority of global GDP, from mass agriculture to heavy industry, from global shipping fleets to international aviation, is stubbornly, deeply dependent on this single commodity. The non-oil dependent part of the economy is comparatively minuscule. This just visually confirms why a shock to the oil system doesn't just hurt one sector, it shakes the very foundations of the entire global economic engine.
You know, the word dictates from the source title is highly intentional. This really isn't about political influence or corporate lobbying. It's a mathematical reality. Regardless of a country's economic system, their geographic location, or their political leadership, if they participate in the modern globalized world, they are completely subject to the dictates of crude oil pricing. It's a truly universal law of modern commerce. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought for the next time you notice your grocery bill creeping up. As developing nations demand more and more energy to grow, the leverage of this one commodity only intensifies. So, what really is the future of global economics in a fiercely crude-dependent world? Keep questioning the mechanics behind the numbers. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.